Are we beginning to see the light shine through the darkness? This is Stoney. Hope you're all doing well. We got a number of stories as usual. We got Stallone and an interesting announcement. We'll get into that. We got two brothers just convicted that were redacted, of course, in those files. We'll get into that. We got Joe Rogan talking about Billy Boy Gates. We got a number of other things going on, particularly with Iran. And we're going to get into sort of something I saw spiritually going on here. Very interesting connection, and I didn't realize how deep it was. Talking about something I mentioned last year, how we moved into the White Dragon Age, how this is seen in the book of Esther, and now I'm seeing these really interesting connections that you're not going to believe with regards to this war in Iran and the book of Esther. And we'll get into that at the tail end. Let's just get going here. Let's start with Stallone. Sylvester Stallone will be serving as executive producer on a new movie called John Rambo. Okay, check this out.
Hello, everyone. It's Sylvester Stallone here. As you know, Rambo has been a huge part of my life, my career. But there's more to the story. There's the prequel, the beginning, and that's what's coming your way. I will serve as executive producer on this.
Interesting. So, of course, he's got a new movie coming out in the near future. And also at the same time, the guy who inspired the entire character of Rambo just died about a week ago. Bo Gritz, a Vietnam War hero who inspired Stallone's character John Rambo, has died. And, of course, he's talking about maybe having Ryan Gosling as playing Rambo.
Just the fact that he knows my name is exciting.
You were talking about Rambo,
Yeah.
and you said if someone else would play Rambo, who would you want it to be? And you said Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
Stallone was...
So, of course, that's really interesting. Ryan Gosling, obviously an action hero in a lot of movies. Pretty cool guy. Then we got this here. Hollywood actor Sylvester Stallone spotted looking youthful at 79 with his wife who's 57 on vacation. Check this out.
Did an amazing job, didn't they?
Yeah.
So, Jennifer, I told you I was going to take you on a long vacation to Italy, and here we are. Well, actually, folks, this is Italy and Georgia, where we're filming Tulsa King.
It looks like it.
They did an amazing job, didn't they?
Of course, looks a little bit like Italy, but obviously such an awesome show, Tulsa King. Speaking of Italy, we have Mel Gibson there right now. And you remember back in 2006, he was telling us all about Hollywood. A den of parasites feasting on, oh my goodness, look, I mean, he was saying this way back when, 2006, 20 years ago, he was saying this stuff. This is why everyone respects him so much, because of what he actually went through, what he said, how they tried to of course, list him from the movies. He went out and made his own movies with his own money. From about that time, honestly, it was before 2006, he started filming his own movies. Apocalypto, The Passion. Of course, right now he's filming The Resurrection of Christ, 2 sequels to The Passion. And, of course, also, so Mel told us about Hollywood, but also Stallone did as well. Talking about going into the storm. And, I mean, honestly, he's put out some interesting tweets over the last year showing that he clearly knows what's going on, especially when it comes to physical and health stuff as well, like RFK has talked about. A man of faith. And also, right now, working on a prequel to Rambo, which is awesome. And with all of his TV shows like Tulsa King and movies, he says, I'm not going to let a group of hippie-minded mothers and their weak, submissive husbands tell me what I can and cannot do on my set. With my team, let them go with their awakening, he detailed. Obviously not putting up with any of this garbage that we've been seeing over the past, I don't know, decade or more at this point. Showing how he loves the fans as well.
Sunshine and
rainbow. It's a very big and nasty place. And I don't care how tough you are. They will beat you to your knees. And keep you there permanently if you let it. Me, you, or nobody. Shenanigans on his life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you get hit. And keep moving forward. How much you get taste. And keep moving forward. And the winner is good.
Obviously knows the lines very well. But we have a ton of other stuff to get into as well in this video. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, have they been caught? We'll get into that. We got Joe Rogan talking about Billy Boy Gates, and that guy could be in some serious trouble very soon here. We have also what's going on with the Iran war. Some are saying this is going to lead to the final battle before the end. I don't know, maybe. Or it could be it's going to be ending very soon. I have some really interesting spiritual stuff to point out with regards to that. But before we do so, I got to mention Food Supply 25-year shelf life. You're going to definitely want to get this if you have not already. Link is in the description. They have a 5-week package for $277. You can easily click this link right here and see the other options. They even have tactical gear you can buy. They got other packages for as low as $35. I mean, you can spend $20 over there and get some interesting stuff. They'll cover 3 days of food, survival, or whatever. Link is in the description. This book here, The Lost Ways, How Your Great-Great-Grandfather Lived Without Electricity. I mean, honestly, if this is the end we're coming up on, you might want to get this book. Get the printed version. It's only $37. Link is in the description for that. Let's get back to the video. So, of course, also check me out on X and all my other social media link below. Pam Bondi, friends with one of Jeffrey Epstein's contacts. This is kind of weird. Check this out.
Oh, hi, Pam Bondi. What are you doing with Keith Frankel? I have a couple questions for you, Pam. How much were the acting lessons? Do the Epstein victims that you cried with know that you're friends with Keith Frankel?
That's interesting. Of course, he's in the emails as well. And talking about some rather curious things that are not exactly innocent. So, of course, she also has some other contacts a little bit as well. Makes you wonder if she's just doing this for money, doing this for whatever reason, because there is another factor also. A certain medical company that she represented as a lawyer, as soon as she got in as AG, she dismissed all the investigations into that company she used to represent as a lawyer. Well, that's kind of weird. Maybe there's something going on there. Maybe she's a little corrupt. I don't know. You have also, of course, Kash as well being caught up today. Alexander brothers just convicted. These guys were redacted in the files by Kash. Of course, Kash said under oath there was no evidence of anything in the files. Just Jeffrey did stuff only. The celebrity real estate brokers, the Alexander brothers, have had their last names redacted in the files. Now they just got convicted for what you would expect, basically stuff in the files. Kind of weird. Maybe there's something going on there, right? Yeah, obviously there is. Clearly, these two people were the worst picks ever for these two positions. I'm not sure if our president knew that. Honestly, everyone thought Kash would be a great person to put in because he talked a lot of game, but perhaps that's what he was. He was a chameleon, pretending like he was going to do something. As soon as he got in, did absolutely nothing. And instead protected these people. And we see that with, of course, Billy Boy, computer guy, Gates, appears on the verge of tears after RFK's Jr.'s decision to withdraw funding for Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. Also on top of that, he wrote apparently something about Bill, and he wasn't too happy about that either.
Of course, this is a challenging time. All the progress we've made is at risk. Budgets are tight, and we all have to show our priorities when there's tough trade-offs to be made. There's no denying this is a global health crisis. The U.S. cuts and other funding cuts.
No, the crisis is in your wallet, dude, not in our health. Well, actually, we have a health crisis because of you. Okay, I think you just got a little crisis in your wallet there because you're not getting free money from us anymore to do whatever you're going to do, which clearly isn't good based on everything I've seen. Obviously, just what we saw in the last 5 years alone, which of course we now have in the files. The guy with the island, Jeffrey, his files, we see that Bill is there planning stuff with him, planning what we saw back in 2020. That was Bill, of course, doing all that. Really not about our health whatsoever. Actually, the exact opposite. Make us mysteriously more sick. More of us dying off. Actually seems to be what he calls health. And, of course, he's now buying up all of our farmland. A lot of it. Vast swaths of U.S. farmland. American farmer John Boyd implores everybody to start growing their own food, buying locally from independent farmers to ensure the food is safe to eat. Because we have Bill here buying up a lot of the potato farms, from what I understand. Going to be making those McDonald's fries for you. Are there going to really be potatoes in the future? That's a good question. He's had a number of companies of recent, and one of them had to do with vegetables and fruit. I think it's called Adele or something like that. And he essentially put some sort of weird coating on them to make them last longer. But in reality, a lot of people were showing how these vegetables are very rubbery and weird. You want your fries to be rubbery? I don't know about you guys, but I'm not really interested, of course, in that. He also has this fake butter company he's making as well. Literally fake. Not related whatsoever to milk, and it's all completely artificial made. No animals involved. You want to eat some of that butter? I don't know what they're putting in this stuff, man. And he says we're entering the dark ages because now we're cutting funding to all this weird stuff. No one wants to eat it either, apparently, or not very many.
Black Farmers Association President John Boyd Jr. joins us now. John, so great to have you on. So I'm sure you've put a lot of thought into this. Why do you think Bill Gates is buying up all this land?
Well, one is greed, and it's running America's family farm is off family land. Basically, we can't buy the land once Bill Gates moves into the area. For example, his data center is right next door here, and since he's located in Bulletin, Virginia, land prices have went through the roof, $20,000 an acre. What farmer do you know that can pay that kind of money per acre?
So, of course, what Bill does is he actually uses shell corporations to hide that he owns them as well. He'll have a completely random name unrelated to him, and you'll just think it's some random person owns it. In reality, it's one of his shell corporations. And why would he hide who owns the land? I thought this, I guess if it's really trying to help us all and make us healthy, why is he hiding it? Also, he was in the files, plotting with Jeffrey. Obviously, we saw what happened from that in 2020, 2021. That's what he was planning, right? So this guy clearly is a nemesis on society. Bill here says we're going to enter into the dark ages because we're going backwards on health. Actually, we're going forwards on health. We're actually getting out of this insanity that we've been dealing with. Our food has just got weird stuff in it, highly processed, preservatives, high fructose corn syrup everywhere. On top of that, you have other weird stuff like glyphosate as well, which, of course, in America, they spray it pre-harvest. They don't do that in Europe. Or pretty much in most countries, they don't do this. And it's interesting is if my researcher was looking into this, he saw one kid was like overweight. I think it was Iran. And he went and looked into it. And apparently they do the exact same thing with their crops in Iran that we do in America. They spray it right before they harvest it with this stuff, which is a carcinogenic. Not good for you at all. And that could be causing inflammation in people, which makes it so their body isn't efficient at processing food and can cause you to pack on the pounds. And I think that's part of the reason why people pack on. So there's a lot of this weird stuff coming out. a lot of new released documents are coming out saying some of this stuff as well, that the GOV knew about this. Why are they allowing this stuff, right? That's the question you should be asking yourself. It's a very good question. You have here Joe Rogan talking about Bill as well, saying that Bill is saying that planting trees, it was ridiculous, which is insane. I mean, planting trees obviously breathe in carbon dioxide.
You have people like Bill Gates saying that planting trees to deal with carbon is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous way to do it. Like, how is that ridiculous? They literally turn carbon dioxide into oxygen. It is their food. That's what the food of plants is. That's what powers the whole plant life.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he literally says we should be cutting trees down, not planting them, which would make more carbon. And they call it carbon emissions, which is carbon dioxide, which is what you breathe out. What are you talking about? Of course, and then they passed laws like in New York City, Local Law 97, where they charge your landlord for you breathing. Actually, not breathing, for exhaling. So they charge your landlord for carbon emissions from their building, which is you breathing out. Okay, so and then of course your landlord probably passes that cost over to you. So you're actually paying rent for exhaling. Literally. That's really what's happening. At any rate, so then we got this here. A Catholic priest, Friar Pierre Al-Ravi, was just killed, apparently, in Lebanon. And it was due to, apparently, a retaliation from, Israel. Lebanon's large Christian population was also apparently targeted as well. So it just seems very interesting how every time this country seems to have some sort of retaliation or war or attack, they just, accidentally hit churches. Whoops, oh, I'm sorry, we didn't mean to kill that guy. Whoops. It seems to happen way too often for it to be just an accident, right? It just seems a little too weird if you ask me. I was like, why are they even going after Lebanon? Like, what the hell's going on here? Apparently, Hezbollah is what it was. Apparently, Lebanon, in retaliation of Iran strikes, decided to do this, which is, so it is kind of spiraling a little bit in that area of the Middle East. But at the same time, it looks like our president's saying it's almost over, which is interesting. He says the Vladmeister was very impressed with what we did in Iran. Let me play this real quick.
We have, I believe, the best generals. We have the best. And this went very quickly. We talked about that with President Putin. He was very impressed with what he saw because nobody's ever seen anything quite like it. Iran was a very powerful military country with all of the missiles. Now, you had the double attack. You had the original attack with us and Israel, and that knocked them for a loop. Then you had the B-2 bombers, which took out their nuclear capability, and they would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks to 4 weeks. And they would have used it long before this press conference, and we might have had a much different...
So our president is under the impression that Iran would have used it, and he's also under the impression that they would have attacked us. I don't know if that's true or not. Who knows? It's hard to know. But it is kind of interesting. A lot of people have opinions on this topic. The way I look at it, if it ends very quickly, fine, it's over with, right? I mean, I didn't want to go into that country personally. I thought, what we did with Venezuela made sense. What we're doing with Greenland makes sense because it's around us. But this is on the other side of the planet. This is in the Middle East. Although I think it is interesting that, there is something about Iran that could have been a threat to us, I guess, theoretically. Who knows, right? So he's saying it could be over very, very quickly, actually, from what he's saying here. The war in Iran is very complete, very much, adding that Tehran has shot everything they have to shoot. We warned Iran not to escalate further. So I think it might actually be almost over. So hopefully it doesn't end up being like Iraq.
A lot. I would say that we probably would not have thought after a month we'd be here, in addition to the fact that we've taken out the leadership twice and maybe 3 times. So we think they should put a president in or the head of the country in that's going to be able to do something peacefully for a change. They've been doing this for 47 years, killing...
Yeah, so I think this is a good thing if it's very short. So it looks like it might be getting over soon.
People for 47 years. If you notice, they did something which was very foolish, very stupid, I would say. They attacked their neighbors, and their neighbors were
he's right.
largely neutral, or at least weren't going to be involved.
Yeah, it was retarded.
And they got attacked.
Completely retarded.
Yeah, they are acting pretty crazy. So the fact that they attacked 12 different countries, like, that's not normal, okay? Like, if you're being attacked, you don't go and attack 12 other random countries around you. Like, that shows you that they're unpredictable. They're kind of out of their mind a little bit. They're not like being stable. So if they're willing to attack 12 random countries around them and they almost had a nuke, probably a good idea to stop them from having a nuke. You know what I mean? Like, not a good idea to have one.
And it had the reverse effect. The neighbors came onto our side and started attacking them quite successfully.
So this is like when people say online, like, because I just saw Sneeko, like, oh, look, it's going to last forever and Iran's winning. I'm like, dude, what the hell are you talking about, bro? Like, they've had their leader die 2 or 3 times already in like 4 days, like 3 different people. And every single thing has been pretty much taken out that like was an issue. Like, what are you talking about? This isn't going to be a forever war. They're almost literally gone in governmental wise. I mean, there's like literally nothing left for us to even do there practically. What are you talking about, dude? Like, just come back to reality. I know you don't like this country in the Middle East. I'm not exactly a fan of the leadership either. We're talking Israel, but the fact is, you don't have to like bend reality to fit your opinion. It's better to look at what's actually going on and then make an analysis, not just make shit up to fit your opinion. You know what I mean? Like, what are you doing?
Be over soon. Are you thinking this week it will be over?
Very soon. Look, everything they have is gone.
I'm thinking the longest it will be is 2 more weeks based on kind of what's being said, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's longer. Maybe it's shorter. It's like, he's almost talking like it's already over. And I'm just saying 2 weeks because that was something that was said like a day or 2 ago. It could be 2 more weeks. It could be over like in no time flat. The issue is the leadership. The leadership's kind of crazy. They don't want to give up, even though they pretty much lost everything. It's kind of like that movie Monty Python where the knight, he's getting completely defeated. He's got no arms and legs. And he's like, come on, I'm still fighting you. And you're like, bro, you're dead. You got no arms or legs. What are you doing? I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but it's an old movie. At any rate, of course, our president isn't exactly happy with this country in the Middle East either. We're talking Israel. He's not happy because they were taking out the oil depots. And he was even talking about trying to end it even sooner, including the Ukraine war, which that should have already been ended, which is insane. Of course, the Ukraine war, we're literally going against Russia. And Russia is obviously a much greater adversary than Iran or Venezuela or any of these other countries. So it's much harder to deal with Russia. I mean, they're clearly one of the main powers that we would have a hard time dealing with, or China, right? So not rocket science. But what is interesting, though, is I feel like I'm seeing a pattern spiritually with all of this. And we had a president tweet out a Kim Clement prophecy, which is rather curious. And it actually is one about Trump being a trumpet. And this is back in 2007. And it also says something about Bill Gates, which is really bizarre also. And so I'm not sure what to make of this. Of course, you could say Microsoft is an extension of Bill, because clearly Microsoft is. And perhaps because they're also I think they're jumping into the game with AI. I don't know. I'm not going to try to explain it. It's a weird thing. But this is the man who predicted Trump would become president, Kim Clement, right? And Trump played one of his clips. So that makes me wonder, it's really kind of strange trying to put this all together, figuring out what the hell's going on. But you remember I talked about how we were entering into the White Dragon Age. And when I say White Dragon Age, a lot of people are like, what the hell are you talking about? You've obviously heard of the Red Dragon. That's in Revelation. Red Dragon's obviously bad. The devil's the Red Dragon, right? Well, a White Dragon Age would be where God is over the world. Kind of like what you saw in the Middle Ages or medieval times. And it doesn't mean it's a perfect utopia. It doesn't mean it's like, it's like heaven or something. It's not like that. What it means is the corrupt, evil people are not in charge of everything. Right now, currently, corrupt, evil people are in charge of everything for the most part. That's why the world's going to hell in a handbasket of recent. But I believe it's already switched over to the White Dragon Age, and now we're starting to see these corruption being removed. That's what I think the files are. That's what I think a lot of the stuff going on around us is. Everyone's learning what's really going on, no longer being deceived by this. Even the normies are not now realizing what's happening. You had the 2024 celestial season. I believe it was basically the end of 2024, beginning of 2025 when we entered into the White Dragon Age. We are now in 2026. It was around that time when the files started to come out, was early 2025. You can see here the celestial season for solar eclipses was the exact same between 480 BC and 2024. The real Esther story, the last chapter of the book of Esther, has a chapter that was removed called Mordecai's Dream, and it talks about two dragons warring for power over the world. And it's a red and white, it's a good and evil dragon. It's a good and evil dragon vying for power over the world. And the book of Esther story is about Esther being integral in saving Israel from being destroyed by Persia. And Esther was integral in saving Israel by marrying the king of Persia. But there was a man named Haman who essentially disliked her people, Esther's people, and particularly hated a man named Mordecai, who was also a servant of the Persian king, but he was also an Israeli or of Israel, right? So what's interesting about this, and this is kind of a weird twist. Okay, so Haman in Esther, what was his nationality? Now, Haman is the bad guy, right? Haman, the primary antagonist in the book of Esther, is identified as an Agagite, specifically described as a son of whatever, right? So a descendant of Agag, the king of the Amalekites. So Agagites are related to the Amalekites. You got that? Also, what's interesting is I asked the question, are the Edomites related to the Amalekites? Yes, the Edomites and Amalekites are closely related through a common ancestor, Esau. Now, what's interesting is during the Maccabean War, the Edomites were defeated by Israel, and they had joined in with Judah. And they had essentially settled and lived in the southern part of Judea, Palestine. So the Edomites were a descendant of Esau, and they became joined and mixed in with Judah at the time of the Maccabean, a little bit after the Maccabean War, right? So you get the idea. So what my point is that Haman is an Agagite, which is related to the Amalekites, which is related to Esau. The Edomites were related to Esau. Esau was a jealous brother of his brother Jacob. Jacob and Esau. Jacob got the blessing. Esau did not. Esau was very jealous of him. Could it be that the sin of Esau was in their own people, jealousy? Could that also be what's going on with, and this is kind of my relation. So I think that the people who are running the world, who are corrupt, who are on the island, particularly we also have apparently now listed that some of the leadership, of Israel were on the island. Okay, or at least they were in the files. They were part of this. So you have all these corrupt leadership. You got Bill Gates. You got all these random people that are corrupt, right, at the top. I feel like they're the Haman figure, and that they're trying to set up a trap for us. And you can see it with Bill Gates, particularly if you look at what happened back in, of course, 2020, which he plotted and planned with Jeffrey. The whole thing, right? So that seemed to be a plot or plan against us. And if you look at the story of Esther, Haman plotted the death of Mordecai. But in the end, what he built to take out Mordecai ended up being used on him by the king of Persia, when the king of Persia changed his mind and went with Esther and Mordecai and married Esther. So I look at the king of Persia as our president, Trump. I look at Haman as like sort of these, elite people that are doing all this corruption. And I look at Esther and Mordecai as sort of us, like the normal people, the church, or just the normal guys They're trying to live their lives. And perhaps at the last moment, our president is going to switch and be on our side more so and stop, because obviously he hasn't done much with the files, right? At the last moment, all of a sudden, all these people get taken in or not necessarily like that, but you know what I'm saying? Like the corruption hits and then eventually turns on all of them and then they all get arrested. This is kind of my theory on it. Anyway, I think you get kind of the idea what I'm getting at. At any rate, that's my video. I'm kind of wondering what some of you guys think about everything I said in this video. Let me know in the comment section below, and thanks for watching.